Howdy! This is Florian from Life Science Mentor, and today it becomes bulky. So maybe you wonder what this is. Any guesses? Well, I show you. Look, this is actually a footrest. Place it down on the floor, and it has this swinging motion, right? So it goes back and forth and breaks together, but here we are. And so I can sit here, and then I can have my feet on this footrest, and it automatically adjusts to the optimal seat position. I absolutely love this thing, and I'm sitting on my on the last seat, however you call it, or on the couch, and I'm reading my iPad or reading a book. Perfectly comfortable, very great. I don't get that anymore. Why? Because this is from my old great aunt, who sadly passed away lots of years ago, like 10 years ago, around, roughly. And actually, I mention this because today's episode is all about ideas that help the elder. And though this also helps me, I like it a lot, it's good for old people who want to put their feet up, right? So you're not always, the knees hurt when you're 70 years old, it can be. And so it's good to be able to put your legs up. So this is really fantastic piece of inheritance, and this follows me everywhere I am. And it actually, I think it's also helpful if you're old. So it's accompanying me until the old age. So that's number one. That's the first idea that helps older people. I have 10 other business ideas. Here I am. I have 10 other business ideas that I'll just introduce. So most of these ideas come down to services. So there are lots of services that you need for old people. And then also like small items like this one, like the footrest. And the problem with the services is that often old people are not really, if you're 70 years old, you've been 60 years old when Facebook began to put on steam, right? Then it's not likely that you are active in social media, right? There are exceptions, of course, but the majority of old people will not be active on social media. So any services that so often nowadays go through Facebook or Twitter or web pages, internet and everything, that's lost on old people. So if you want to do a service, it needs to be something that they can use as well. And I try to think about some things that will still work. And so this is my list. So the first thing I just showed you, right? It's the footrest. And the second thing is community help, right? So what if you had an Uber-like app, but instead of like car sharing, you do favor sharing, or like you have like an app where you can call people on the neighborhood for services like repairing something at home or doing shopping, just checking in once a day. You can call someone with this Uber-like app, and then that person comes by and checks. And of course, you have to make sure that people that deal with older people, they know some kind of like first aid or are able to give help if older people need help. But that's something that can be integrated somewhere in the app. It's more important to have that app and then call services. In fact, I know when my grandmother was still alive, she would have been so happy about Uber, because she always tried to get a cab to get when we were having family event and she wanted to get back home. She always tried to get a cab, and she always had her preferred cab driver. And with something like Uber, of course, you can organize very easily to have always one designated driver. If you like your Uber driver, you can also ask him if he wants to just be on call for you and earn something extra to just be able to drive you through the neighborhood. It's just more personal, these services, and the same is with an Uber-like app for neighborhood services, right? So I imagine if I'm old, then I would appreciate if I have like always the same people that know what they're doing, and if I have a direct app that connects me not via a company, and then the company decides which people they send, but I can choose myself which people I take, then in that case, an Uber-like app for services has real benefits for older people, right? So that would be idea number 2. And idea number 3 is I call it a mobile car entry help. So you have cars that are especially outfitted to transport old people or disabled people, people with special needs, right? But so not every car has that, right? In New York City, every bus has a ramp now where if there's someone in a wheelchair, he can get on the bus easily. But normal car, a Prius will not likely have a ramp, right? And so maybe, of course, if you are in a wheelchair, you will not be able to be transported in a Toyota Prius or something like that, right? That's for sure. But if you're not, and you just need a little help to enter a vehicle, so why not have a mobile step? It could be magnetic, and magnets could be very strong. I know somebody had in high school, I remember somebody brought a military magnet, like would be able to withstand 50 kilogram of pull. And yeah, you attach the magnet and you could really not pull it down. And if you have such a strong magnet, you could have that magnet like with a little lever, activate that magnet, and then your little step attaches to the chassis of the car, and then you have a little step where somebody who can't climb very well can have an easier time to get in. Or like a grip, you have your mobile grip and you attach that grip to the side of the car door entry, and you can just like grab onto it and have an easier time to get in. And such a grip could be transported in the purse, or easily people can take it more or less easily with them. So that would enable old people to get into any car basically that is available. Number 3, or that was number 3, so we're not number 4. A personal tracking device, like a little chip that fits clothes or jewelry, some rings. So one problem is that sometimes old people get lost in the neighborhood. They take the wrong turn and then they don't realize where they are. They fall. My grandmother fell down on an icy floor outside and fractured like some bones in her skull, and that took a long time to heal, and her eyesight never really came back completely, which was really horrible because all she basically wanted to do was read, and now it was still possible but a little bit more difficult. So you can maybe not prevent these falls, but you can greatly speed up the time that somebody gets help, right? Or if you fall down at home and your relatives will just check on you in the evening, but you fall down early afternoon, so you wait 4 hours until they are there. No. Have a little chip in your ring or somewhere, and then you just tap it if you fall down or if you're lost. And then an alarm goes off at your relatives or at friends or at the doctor, and they send someone to take care of you. Number 5, automatic polsters. Goes back to like easy fall. Like the number 1 problem for old people is they fall and then they break their hips, and that's nasty because if you're 70, 75 years old, good luck finding a health insurance that pays for you to get a new hip. Often it's not, it's sad, but you maybe have 5 more years to live. It's not worth it. It's not, it's not cheap at the very least to put in an artificial hip if you need it, right? So you must not break your hip, but you still fall and you can break it. And often, as sad as it is, when old people fall and break their hip, that's often it, right? I've seen it so many times in my own family and other families. 6 months later, they die because they are completely immobile, the bones don't heal, and kind of like people give up then on life and think, oh, well, what, I might as well die now rather than 5 years in pain and inconvenience. And so what if you have some material that buffers fall? Like some gel-like material that you put like on as a second layer over your clothes at the like where joints are, where your hip are, where problems are when you fall down. Then you fall down and the fall is buffered. So all you take is like some concussions, but that's it, right? That would be very useful. And I can't imagine there's not some gel-like material that is not making your clothes too bulky, but also give you enough protection that a casual fall down doesn't mean like doesn't mean like a difficult surgery has to follow afterwards. Number 6, a home security business. Very easy. If you offer security consultations and you come by and check somebody's home for neuralgic zones like slippery bathroom floors, right? You could recommend that people install some grips on the side, right? Or like sharp edges on tables and seats. So maybe you can suggest to round them off and something like that. You offer the consultation. That would be a service that people would actually pay for and would actually welcome. So, and you're doing a good work. Home security business, that's number 6. Number 7, an old friend search. As I said before, if you're 70 years old now, chances are you're not part of social media. And if you are, chances are that your friends that you know from old times that you went to school with, they may still be alive, but they are certainly not on social media. So what if you have, but if you look for where they are, if you search where they are, you may have luck by combing through, like go through city council chambers or city archives, and there's lots of data where people that moved into the community moved away from the community that is just in paper form. Or microfiche. Microfiche, many of you will not remember. Those that are 40 years old, or like around 35, between 35 and more, will remember it. Before computers were really in full swing, people had microfiche that was like a very small condensed chip, very small fine print. And you had a big reader, so you put the small chip on there, and then you saw it. You could like move it. The table had like fine movers. You can move it back and forth onto the side, and then you can basically have a whole newspaper on that kind of chip. So if you had a computer that scans these data in and then searches those archives, that could help finding old friends from school back. And if you were doing that, and I believe lots of city archives are now scanning their paper documents into electronic format, but then still they're there and not easily accessible by search engines. But if you program an app that especially searches those old documents, and you could feed that app like 1,000 different case studies of people, family trees, and people that have moved from one point to the other, so that they have several case studies, and then they can, based on that, learn how to do an efficient search based on those 1,000 case studies, and then perform new searches for new studies, right? So you have new requests, you want to know where your friend from school, your best friend from school, you last knew that he was or she was in somewhere in Colorado, but you moved to the East Coast. So now how do you find them, right? So you find them online. You type in Colorado, the last known position of that person, and then that app searches through all the documents. It has learned how to search for the valid data, and then has some hints. And even if it doesn't figure out where the person you're looking for really is, it could figure out where its relatives are. And often you contact the children, they can of course tell you immediately where their parents are, right? So like an app that enables searching through older documents and efficiently employs metadata search, like search between the lines, search make sense of different family trees and that kind of stuff. I don't believe that is so difficult to achieve. Although I'm not a programmer, so I don't know. I've never really coded in my life. So, but I can't imagine you. It's just data, right? You come up with an algorithm that searches data, and nowadays I think you can recognize people. Computers can scan in data and documents, and then they can recognize words. And as soon as the computer can digitalize and recognize words, you have it in there, and the computer can search. So, but I don't know if something like that exists. So that would be something hugely helpful for older people. Then an app that automates estate and end of life planning, right? Let's face it, most people don't plan their estate ahead of time. Yet they still and it becomes a nuisance when you have to then you have to go through the administrative stuff, and then who gets which part of the inheritance, and it's horrible. And families break up just because people are angry that they feel like they don't get their equal share of the inheritance. It's pretty disgusting because you want to spend the last 5 years talking to the old people in your family. Just don't worry about all the administrative stuff. So if you have an app that takes care of all the documents and tells you which documents to use when, or which documents you have to what you have to ask your attorney for and stuff like that. If that automates it, you feed what documents you have, and then the program tells you what other documents you need. That would be hugely helpful. A simplifier app for your cell phone. So, like modern cell phones, they have lots of different functions, but these functions they're small. The apps are small. The symbols small and funky, and not a pleasure for old people to look at, because when you become older, your vision goes down. So, what if you had an app that remembers which apps you use most, and then puts them to the foreground and enhances them, right? So it means maybe the home screen of somebody in a 70-year-old iPhone would be just text app for phone calls, and Instagram, maybe for looking at old family photos, and that's it. I actually imagine I myself would like something like that, because so many apps you're not using that often, so they can be on the second screen. On a home screen, only the ones that you really use often, and enhanced in size. That would help old people when your vision goes down, right? Noise cancelling headphones are good as well. The only problem here is that so the older you get, the more you lose your sense of hearing as well. So at one point you tend to watch TV or whatever you do, listen to your podcast or CDs or whatever you have with a headset, right? And then problem is you don't hear somebody come knocking at the door. But what if you could have a headset where you program certain sounds in, and then if the doorbell rings, the headset mutes the normal sound, and you hear the doorbell ring, you can get up and get the door. Essentially, a true story. One relative of mine, he lost his keys, came home, couldn't get into the apartment. His mother happened to be in the apartment, and she could have opened the door for him. However, she was watching soccer with her headset on. So he had to wait 60 minutes or so at that point, or maybe 70 minutes, until the whole match was over. And then she would stop watching it. Then she would hear him ring the doorbell, which could have been avoided had she had headphones that would still alert her to the sound of the doorbell. And the last one is a hearing aid. And normally hearing aids, so they work, but they have one problem. They only enhance equal sounds everywhere. What I mean by that is, the biggest problem if you're not hearing well, the biggest problem is distinguishing specific people that talk to you from the background noise, right? I am speaking very distinctly. now, right? So you would be able to understand me in a background where other people are talking. So that's a problem. Not everyone speaks distinctly, and so it's all some kind of noise. And what happens is you get frustrated because you can't follow the conversations. You switch off, you retreat into your own world. So being bad in hearing, so people say the vision loss is the worst because we need our eyes the most. But in fact, if your hearing is bad, you can be easily excluded from social connections. Just because as soon as people are in a bigger group, you're not able to follow anything anymore and you get frustrated because you don't want to sit there and ask, what did you say? What did you say? Can you repeat that? Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't hear that. What did you say? No, you don't want to do that. So what I have in mind is something like that. You have a hearing aid and maybe with something like Google Glass or something, have like some kind of glass or little sensor here that records the lip movement of the person to whom you're talking. So based on the lip movement, it feeds back on the sound and it specifically enhances the words based on the lip movement. So it recognizes what the other person is saying and then it enhances the sound based on those visual cues. I don't know whether that's possible, but that may actually be more accurate than a microphone that's filtering out sound from the outside, because visual signals are much more immediate than sound. And if you follow somebody's lip movements, you're less distracted than from ambient sound somewhere, right? So that may actually make a hearing aid more efficient. Just a thought. And those are my 11 ideas. Let me know if you have some old people that you take care of. Let me know if any of these ideas is useful. Let me know if you have some additional ideas. I believe that people get progressively older, so trying to program an app that caters to old people, or trying to invent something that makes life easier for old people, will have a growing market automatically because we become older and older and older, and everyone on social media, or most companies focus on the young and hip and the new thing because it takes literally 6 months, then a new social app comes up and grows up. But if you're older, time goes by a little more slowly. I already know with 40 years old, time goes by a little slowly. And you don't see the point in being like following you don't follow social media as much as you would do when you're 20 years old, right? You don't have that big of an ease. I mean, 8-year-old can. I mean, I think I'm pretty computer savvy. I grew up in the 80s when personal computers came up. I witnessed the whole thing when Apple almost fell down and built themselves back up. When Windows PCs by Microsoft were considered the best computers, and I consider myself pretty computer savvy. But I mean, no. I mean, nowadays 4, 5, 6-year-olds grow up with an iPhone in their hand. Basically, they beat me just like that. They beat every 20-year-old just like that with the ease of handling and efficiency of social media. But if you're older, you are not as efficient in handling a computer. So if you offer any service that lets you combine social media with topics that are of interest to you at your age, then there's a growing market for that, I believe. And nobody really addresses that market right now because, as I said, it all caters to young, hip, new, fast, and leaves older people sort of like out in the open. So there's huge potential there. And with that being said, I hope you can enjoy your Sunday a little bit longer. I wish you a great start in the new week. And soon is Christmas, very exciting. If you enjoyed this video, leave me a comment or click on like so more people can be exposed to the video. And tell your friends. subscribe. I am more than happy to answer every comment you have. And if you have a suggestion, I even try putting that into motion as soon as possible, because I'm really happy about comments that I get, because they help me make my content better for everyone else to use, right? So looking forward to having you with me again tomorrow, and enjoy your Sunday. Have a great week, and see you again tomorrow.